I'm worried about Rob Gronkowski. And no, I'm not worried because of the Miami Miracle, which was downright awful situational decision making by Bill Belichick, something which he basically admitted himself. Gronkowski was on knockdown duty on a play that was never going to realistically happen. What was Tannehill going to do? Bomb the ball 70 yards downfield into the end zone? So no, I'm not worried Gronkowski didn't make a play he should never be expected to make. As a matter of fact, the game against the Dolphins could be seen as Gronkowski's coming out party, with his best performance of the season since week 1. Right in time for playoff football. But as I watched that game, I got the feeling that this was more of a farewell occasion. You see, Gronkowski talked about retirement at the end of last season, and whilst most people have forgotten about what they saw as a throwaway remark after a Super Bowl loss, I don't think the thought has left his mind. I think Rob Gronkowski is done with football, both physically and mentally, and not because he isn't good enough, but as stupid as it sounds, because he's too good. Gronkowski has suffered more than 10 serious injuries in his 9-year career, and his chance of injury at the beginning of this season was set at 78%. Compare that to Ertz's 58%, Kelsey's 53%, and Jimmy Graham's 42%. Now, what's that got to do with him being too good? Well, I believe there are some players that are just too good to stay healthy. That's maybe because their bodies can't keep up, or maybe because they just get played differently. At running back, you have guys like Jamal Charles and Darren McFadden, who tended to average over 5 yards a carry when they had healthy seasons, but didn't have too many of those. And the tight end position has plenty of guys like Tyler Eifert and Jordan Reed. And I honestly believe that an injury-free RG3 would have turned the league on its head, but maybe the best example is Bob Sanders. The hard-hitting 2007 Defensive Player of the Year played more than 6 games in a season only twice in his 8-year career, and played less than 6 4 times. My point is, Rob Gronkowski is an all-time great, injury-prone player. And now every defensive back in the NFL is diving into his knees rather than trying to wrap up. Now, I watched Rob Gronkowski in that game against the Dolphins. I watched his body language. I watched his reactions to his own big plays. The performance felt empty. He'd catch the ball, get taken out at the knees by McDonald, throw the ball to a referee and head to the huddle. Now, Gronk is a character, a famous one, on and off the field, but there was no character to this performance. Even his touchdown celebrations feel a little lackluster. And that's the mental side of his decline, and the topic of touchdowns takes us to the physical. You can definitely contribute some of what I've already mentioned to this as well, but Gronkowski isn't the player he used to be, at least this season. Maybe it's one too many injuries, maybe it's one too many shots to the legs in every game, or maybe it's just how defenses cover him, but Gronk is not the dynamic playmaker he once was. Now, the lack of touchdowns this season is easy enough to clarify when you look at the 3 he has scored this season. Double coverage, triple coverage, and not one of those was an ordinary pitch and catch like most players get fed at some point. Gronk and Julio Jones have the same problem. Their name is at the top of every defensive coordinator in the NFL's list every week. But that's not really the problem. It's what Gronkowski does with the ball after catching it and before being tackled. It's his yards after catch that truly show a different player is out there on the field in 2018. In 2015, Gronkowski was 5th in the NFL in yards after the catch. Only Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, and 2 receiving backs were ahead of him. Last year, he was 27th, and even in 2016, when he started only 6 games, he finished 85th overall. Where does he rank this year? 123rd. That is a terrible statistic. Is it down to the fact that he gets tackled lower more often, causing less broken tackles? Are defenses double covering him, so even when he beats one guy, another is there right away? Or has Rob Gronkowski simply lost his love for the sport he has given so much to physically over the years? And that's not to say he's phoning it in. I believe he's still giving full effort out there. I just think his body is refusing to sacrifice itself for the sport anymore. Attempting to avoid contact often leaves one leg planted to the ground as you shift weight, and ask any quarterback that has torn their ACL, you don't want to catch a hit on your plant leg. Gronkowski looks like a man at the end of his career. Even Antonio Gates, who moves at the same pace as Tom Brady nowadays, makes more defenders miss after the catch than Gronkowski. My point is, I think Gronkowski is done with the game mentally because he has suffered too many injuries in such a short space of time, and now he risks injury every time he touches the ball because of how defenders tackle him. He also looks done physically, partially because of what I just said, and also because he isn't making plays after the catch anymore. He looks like he's checked out, and it makes me sad. Maybe, I don't know, I'm definitely not an expert, but the facts right now are that Rob Gronkowski is not playing at his former level. Maybe it was just that game against the Dolphins, but I'll be watching him closely this weekend against the Steelers and hoping that one of the most exciting, dynamic and fun plays in the NFL won't be gone so soon.